वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धे भवतु मे सदा। वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। Hari Om. Again, I request all participants who can turn on your video feeds, please turn on the video feeds. Yes, please. So, can someone recollect what is it that we saw last? Anything? Yes, please. So, we form the link and proceed.
So
Yes.
Arjun has asked Krishna to take the chariot to the center stage to have a
See.
good view of his opponents in the battlefield. But once he is there, when he sees all his uncles, Gurur Bandhu, and other relatives and friends, he gets a little anxious. He gets emotional and he loses all his urge to fight and brings as many excuses as possible to give up. But Krishna asked him to stand his ground. That was the...
Okay. Also, Krishna didn't exactly advise Arjuna. He just said. So he saw everybody, and as he saw everyone, he got overwhelmed by emotions and started explaining different ways and gave different logics. Some of the logics sometimes were looking slightly convincing also. Initially, it was not. He says, I'm thirsty, my head is spinning. Then he goes on. Then he says, I don't want to. This is Papa, this is Mitra Droha, Kula, Kshaya, Varna, Sankara, all different categories. He's trying to just invoke. Then he's talking about what is going to happen in the future. He says his pitas will be disturbed. The ancestors will lose their shanti. There will be societal loss. There will be tragedies. There will be disgrace everywhere. So now we know that he has already an agenda of himself, that his emotions have taken control, and he sees only one way: let me run away. And so he gives different logics. Sometimes people, though they are not on the right cause, they can give very good logic. That is also one more interesting aspect. They can give very good tarka for a wrong thing, but that does not make the wrong thing right at all. And here Arjuna has finally said it's better if I got killed, if I just dropped my weapons, went and surrendered. To whom? Surrendered to Duryodhana or his army. He said, I will retain some glory. Logically, this is not true, but this is the state of mind right now. And Krishna just intervenes like an elder, like a wise person. He doesn't get emotional, or it's like you don't react to emotions with emotion. So if there is fire, you're going to try to douse the fire. You're not going to try to put more oil in it. It is something like that. Krishna, in a neutral manner, says, Klaibhyam mas magamaha partha naitatvaya upapadyate shudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva parantapa. He says, this is not the way. Don't be important in action. This is not the way of the warrior. Earlier also, asvargyam, akirtikaram, anaryam, ajushtam. He says this is not the way of the Aryan, not the way of the fighter, not the way of the Kshatriya. It's not going to earn you the heavens that you aspire. These actions will not give you anything, right? In the last, he says, this is not, if you want to give up something, give this weak-heartedness up. This cowardice always creeps in, and it always creeps in when we have attachments. It is something when you are free, when your conscience is clear, you have nothing to fear actually. You are ready to face whatever it is because you have done the right thing. So Krishna is trying to tell, give this up. If this is wrong, this has no relevance, whatever weak-heartedness you're having. Arjuna replies, so we will continue from the fourth shloka. We see Arjuna speak, but this time Arjuna is more emotional and he's taking it out on Krishna. One more interesting thing we saw in the last Adhyay. He asked Krishna, did we do this out of greed? Greed for wealth. No, Arjuna is not greedy. He is not seeking, he is not lusting for wealth or anything else or power or any of that. But you see, in his state of emotions, not only is he considering himself that way, he's blaming Krishna also, saying, Krishna, did you did you want this to happen? Did you want the portion of the share? Now, how insulting can this be? But again, Krishna doesn't get insulted. This is also one lesson we must learn. So when our friends talk really wrong stuff, sometimes they really say crazy things about us in a state of emotions, even though we try to help them. You must understand these are the emotions speaking and not the friend speaking right now. This is not truth. So you don't have to yourself get disturbed because Krishna taught us one wonderful thing about how to be a listener. He's listening. Listening, just giving a ear. Sometimes it's so important, just giving a ear. Your friend wants to say something which is not sensible also. Take care. Don't support. Krishna didn't support for one moment also. But it's okay. Give a ear. And when the chance comes, because Arjuna stopped, he sat down. That was the time when Krishna intervened. He said one line. But that one line also was too much for him. Because now we see Arjuna angry. अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्मम् अहं सङ्ख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजार्हावरिसूदन. Tell me how, as with weapons equipped, stand revered Bhishma and Drona in my sight. Both these great souls I have always worshipped. Even in dreams, them I cannot fight. He says, how? You're asking me to fight? Tell me how. Look who is standing in front of me. It is Dronacharya, Pitamaha, Bhishma. These are my Pujaniya people. I respect them, I revere them. I cannot even fight them in my dream. Forget reality. How should I fight? You're asking me to fight Krishna? He goes on further. Guruna Hatva. Now he takes the highest. Kulakshaya, Varna Sankara, Mitra Droha. Means, according to Arjuna, Mitra Droha is also worst. You are breaking the sacred bond of friendship. That's the worst thing to do. But now he goes one step higher. He calls it Guru Hatya. We saw yesterday, isn't it? On the battlefield, when a soldier is fighting, it's not murder. It's not a cold-blooded murder. It's in the line of duty that they are doing the actions. But now he calls it Guru Hatya. He goes on, Guru na Hatva. The very thought is itself very difficult to think about. But he says it. गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्ष्यमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्त गुरूनिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान्. Instead of killing, the experienced teachers mighty. Even a life spent begging for alms is worthy. If for my desire of wealth they are dead, the worst of dreaded sins will loom over my head. It says, no, let me be a beggar. It's okay, but not fighting and killing my teachers. This is the worst sin. So again, Arjuna is concerned with himself. It is my sin. I will get this bad sin. What about everybody else? On the Pandavan side, right now, Arjuna is not concerned with everybody else. He's only concerned with himself. Another example of what happens when emotions and anger are very deadly cocktail. They work together, you forget the entire world, you forget what is right and what is wrong. Only your point of view becomes most important. This is what is happening. Krishna says, fine. He says, how can you tell me this? No, this is worst. This is the worst thing. Now he calls his Kauravan brothers. He calls them his brothers, the same ones who tried to kill him. न चैतद् विद्मः कतरन्नो गरियो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः याने यानेव हत्वा न ऋजीविषांस्ते अवस्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः. These children of Dhritarashtra. He says, killing my foes, my Kauravan brothers, I firmly refuse. From these two outcomes, how can one choose? Are defeating them or are being defeated? As both ways, my own life shall be desecrated. Now, this logic, what he's saying, doesn't seem so wrong. He says, these are my brothers. Whatever happens, they are my own brothers. I firmly refuse to fight or even, I can't slay my own brethren. He says, no. How can I choose also one of the two? Because if I choose also, he says, see, if I defeat them, what's going to happen? All my brethren will be dead. And if I lose, again, people on my side are only going to be dead. So, what choice are you asking me to take? There is no choice here for me. He says, I am already lost. Now, what Arjuna is saying, is this not a true statement or true tarka that he has given? In a way, from his point of view, if you look at it, anybody? What do you think?
Yes, in certain circumstances, this kind of feeling does arise.
Isn't it? And he is now truthful. And now he is not talking about the other aspects, Varna Sankara or Pitar or all the other logics. He is not suddenly become Nostradamus predicting the future. He is right now saying this is the current situation. Somewhere he has got a realization that he is now in a corner. So first anger, frustration, and then desperation has now come out. He says, no, I cannot choose both sides. I'm seeing only death here. He says, there is nothing right here. And it is precisely in this moment of desperation, in the moment of darkness only, the light shines, isn't it? If it's not dark, light cannot shine also sometimes. So here, Arjuna has reached a realization that no, I don't know. And now gives the most important shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, where he turns to Krishna. And this is exactly the surrender which he does to Krishna. Let us see. He says, कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यत् स्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेतः. What is dharma? I don't know, he says. I'm confused. I'm confused in understanding what is my dharma. And karpanya dosha means I'm filled with a fear. A fear and anxiety has taken control of me. Yat shreyaha. We saw a small introduction. There's something called shreyas. There's something called preyas, as in beautifully explained in Katha Upanishad. That which is desirable is preyas, but that which is shreyas is that which is needed. A diabetic patient wanting to eat mangoes, is it shreyas or preyas? Anybody?
Prayers.
Prayers.
Preyas. Yes, it's desirable, but it's not really needed. So something like that. But Arjuna knows I need to know what is right in this moment, and he knows he's confused. And this is the most beautiful aspect when he knows it. And the last part, this is the complete what we can say magic word. He says, Shishyas teham shadhi mam tvam prapannam. The first act of surrender. Surrender is not just one moment actually. In the spiritual path, surrender is quite different. It happens sometimes over stages. It takes time. It becomes deeper and deeper, and as it increases, a person gets more transformed. So here he says, I seek your refuge. He says, I ask to you in this state of confusion, tell me my right course of action. Thus afflicted and infected by fear, I seek your refuge. Show the way, teacher. Now, for a warrior to say, I am afraid, it's difficult, isn't it? A warrior who is known to be fearless, the one who strikes fear into everybody's heart. And Arjuna is not a child. Yeah, I'm afraid of the dark, please tell me. He is actually a grown up man whose child is also grown up now and taking part in the battle. So this grown-up man suddenly throws away all of his baggage of ahankar in front of his Krishna, because now he feels Krishna only can save me. That Shraddha is there. And he says this, show me the way, teacher. Now my simple question is, earlier Arjuna was going to surrender, isn't it? To the Kauravas. Now he's surrendering to Krishna. Any difference? Or it's the same thing, ultimately surrendering to the enemy, surrendering to Guru. It's all the same, isn't it? Ultimately, it's surrender, or is it different? Yes, surrendering to Guru and surrendering to the enemy.
Is
It is
different
different.
Why is it, Dr. Tanviji?
because it's important to whom you are surrendering.
Okay.
and with what bhav you are surrendering.
Okay.
So
So
if you're surrendering to any means, then it is accepting defeat and running away from one's dharma. But if you're
okay.
surrendering to a guru, it is like you are seeking answers for, you're confused and you're seeking answers for betterment of your own.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does the enemy do when you surrender to the enemy? Yes, sir. Karthik ji is adding something? Yes, sir.
So I was just thinking, surrendering to the enemy, also could it also mean, say, out of desperation because you don't have a solution to, um,
It's like giving a walkover. You're not even
yeah, correct.
participating.
You
You're
don't you
not.
don't have you don't have a solution to the to you
What
don't
will?
have a mean to win, so hence you surrender.
Yeah. So
Versus when you surrender to the guru, you still have this hope that you can win, and you are looking at guidance or a solution to the problem.
all right, all right. Yes. So there is one is hopelessness. One is a place where there is hope and there is aspiration to come out of it. And again, what will the enemy do when you surrender to the enemy? Enemy will finish you. But when you surrender to the guru, what is the guru going to take from you? Nothing. The moment he says guru has nothing, he'll take the shed repose out of you. That is something you don't need, isn't it? That is something. That it is why it is said Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Charachara Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Means the guru is like a catalyst. If you're in a chemical reaction, what does the catalyst do? Catalyst is inert. But catalyst really fastens the rate of transformation. The raw material becomes the first product reactant becomes a product, and it happens at rapid speed. So that is something. Surrendering to the enemy is of absolutely no use, but surrendering to the divine, surrendering to your Aradhya, surrendering to your Guru is essential, because here you are surrendering all that is not required, and that brings about a transformation. So we will see how this surrender helps, because this action, if this shloka was not there, Bhagavad Gita would not have taken place. If Arjuna had not asked Krishna, Krishna, show me the way, Krishna would have found another Arjuna, but not this one. It would have been another name. Somebody else would have been an instrument of the divine. Because right now, Arjuna has said, I want the way. Please show me the way. Teacher, I'm afraid. So, no hesitation in admitting one's fault. In front of the Guru, you don't have to have that hesitation also. So, let us continue. He goes on further. And after this, he says, Nahi prapashyami ममापनुद्यात् यत् शोकम् उच्छेषणम् इन्द्रियाणाम् आवाप्य भूमा वसपत्नमृद्धम् राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम्. He says, nothing, this darkness which has come over me right now, I feel there is no solution. Nothing can come out of this. I'm afraid. He goes on, I'm unable to see what will drive this numbness away, overwhelming me. This sorrow is here to stay. No happiness will come from any earthly aristocracy, neither godhood nor by absolute supremacy. He says, no, Krishna, even if I got godhood, if I became a deva, now because you see, man is what? Sri Aurobindo says, evolving God. We are raising our consciousness, going towards a higher state. But Arjuna says, no, even if I reach the state of God, this sorrow. I'm feeling numb inside. It's like now the feelings also have disappeared and it's become empty inside. And he says, I don't know how these dark clouds hovering above me will disappear. I don't think anything in the world, even if I became the ruler of the entire universe, this sorrow will not. It looks like it has come to stay. No supremacy will also. Nothing can be given. Sometimes we do feel sad. Sometimes we lose something which is very important to us and we cannot tolerate it. Well, that is also a natural human emotion and experience. But here, Arjuna is feeling, no, I don't know if I will be able to see light again. I'm in that state right now. And here Sanjay speaks. Again, probably Dhritarashtra is happy listening to all of this. कि चलो ठीक है. Arjuna is now down, but Sanjay speaks. Sanjay उवाच एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तप न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः. Sanjay said to Arjuna the mighty, who had even mastered sleep. So the Gudakesha, one of the names is he had achieved a particular ability to continue his sadhana and life with and practice and everything without having to go to sleep. Yogis sleep for very little time. That is a known fact. But here he had, gone to that stage where he didn't need to sleep at all. To Arjuna the mighty, who had even mastered sleep, to he who was unstable and in darkness deep, O king, to him Sri Krishna then spoke. The warrior within Arjuna, he sought to provoke. So here he sought to provoke the warrior and awaken that warrior which is now suddenly disappeared inside of Arjuna. Now Krishna will start. This will be the beautiful start of the Gita. But before we do that, I just want to ask you, what would you do if you were in Krishna's place? Imagine, I think we must have all faced this. As children, we must be planning to play some sports games, and you will be depending on a particular player to come and play for you. And last minute he says, no, I'm not coming. What happens then? Or a friend of mine, he was in a band, his lead vocal singer. On the last day, he came every day for the practice. Just one day before the event, he says, no, I'm not really feeling like playing, so I'll not do. You please find another lead singer. What would be your reaction? I'm asking, if you are in Krishna's place and you are hero, you are Arjuna, in whose name you have said, Chalo, I'll be his Sarthi. No problem. I'll give my Narayani Sena to the other side. Because see, Arjuna is there, no problem. And then Arjuna behaves this way. What will your reaction be? Anybody?
Puzzled.
Okay, Renuji says puzzled. Okay, that is a very, I think, mild reaction because puzzled, okay. Any other emotions will come, but it depends on the individual. So probably Renuji will not feel anger. But anybody else? Okay, Karthik ji. Yes, sir.
You would feel let down and angry.
Let down and angry, isn't it? Yes. If I was there, I would, hey, Bhim, come, give me your gun. I have to hit this person on his head only, knock some sense into him. What's he talking right now? But look at Krishna. Why classic Krishna is because we can learn so many things from Krishna, not only from his shloka, but from his acharan also, the way he behaves. So here, Krishna is not frustrated. But he does something very unbelievable, is he smiles. Right in the middle of the battlefield. His hero has fallen. Probably everybody is now planning. Yes, Shilpa, wants to say something? Yes, Ji?
Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
felt curious. Maybe I would have convinced two or three times, and then I would have let him know.
Chalo, I am walking out. No point. This person is not having sense. I don't want to support this at all. So yes, exactly. But now let us see what Krishna is saying this. Tam vacha Rishikeshaha prahasanniva bharata senayoru bhayor madhe vishidantam idam vachah. To him the divine Krishna thus exclaimed, standing in the middle of the warfield, he proclaimed, in a voice laced with a mild tinge of laughter, between both armies, he spoke in this manner. The hour of God is anywhere, anytime. We only have this is the place for things, this should be done here, that should be done. Divine knows what needs to be done at what time. And here, normal human being will feel frustrated, disappointed, worried, anxious. All the emotional flux will take over an individual. But look at Krishna. He's still, not only is he stoic, he's finding something very humorous that he's smiling at Arjuna, who is right now crying. He's looking, he's in depression. He says, I cannot. And he's given so much logic. He's insulted Krishna, but still, quietly, slight smile on his face. He says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Ashochan Anmashocastvam Prajnavadanshcha Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasunshcha Nanushochanti Panditaha. You weep, Krishna says, you weep for whom tears shouldn't be shed. Yet you speak the language of the enlightened. Over those who are or who are going to be dead, one mustn't grieve. This the wise have clearly said. He says, one side you are talking like a prajnavan, you are speaking tarka, philosophy, as if you are a great, what we can say, intellectual. But you're behaving like a pseudo-intellectual right now. Because here you are speaking about these high philosophies. And on the other side, you are crying about people who are going to die. My question is, can we delay or prevent death or undo death by crying? Isn't it? It is
No.
difficult. Nothing. It is a truth of life. It is truth of life. And no amount of tears will bring back. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Gita will say later on. These are all truths of life that have to be understood. And he says, by shedding tears, what are you achieving? And that too as a warrior. Arjuna has seen many wars, isn't it? And they had bow and arrows or bow and flowers. It was bow and arrows only. And people would fall. Many people would fall, and this was a fact. And this is a fact of life also. But now you are talking about high philosophy, great, you don't want papa, you want to accumulate punya, all these things, and suddenly you are talking not like an enlightened person at all. And for whom are you crying? Krishna was very clear because Arjuna had first himself said, I want to mark my opponents who have combined to join the false cause of Duryodhana. So he knows that these are all, they have taken the side of adharma. And you are crying for those on the adharma. I feel sad for the terrorist. He had a bad childhood. That is why he went on a murder spree killing innocent people. Is this a logic? Is this a logic? It is a logic, but it's a bad logic, we can say. Because this is not something. What about the choice of the individual? We cannot blame everything just for justifying. So here, because you can always take 2, 3 sides, isn't it? This view is also right, that view is also right, the other view is also right because of certain factors. But truth is the same, isn't it? If I say everybody good night, it is at 6:30 a.m. What will you say? Will you say it's my point of view? Or you'll say something is wrong. He's saying 6:30 morning, he's calling it night. Because Satya, there is something, Satya is remaining the same. It does not have perspectives. When your prajna is awakened, truth is yours. So you are claiming to be a prajnavadi pandit, but look at your language. You are feeling emotions, you are feeling frustrated, all you are saying you are having fear. And at the same time, you are also taking, you should take one stand, either be a pandit or be someone who does not know. And that is something. He goes on further. Natve vaham jatu nasam, natvam neme janadhipaha, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. There was never a time when I existed not. Krishna says something. Now suddenly metaphysics is coming in. There was never a time when I existed not, neither a time when you nor these kings were not. In the future, too, such a time the world won't see, where every single one of us will not be. Krishna says, you were there before, you are now, you will be tomorrow also. There was never a time that you did not exist consciously. Now, what is Krishna talking about? My teacher Damleji said in marketing, people used to use this tactic. If you can't convince, confuse. So is Krishna doing that to Arjuna right now? Or there is a logic here? What could Krishna be implying when he says this? There was never a time when you were not, or all these kings also. They were there. They will be there also. Inside of a Mrityu Kshetra, of a battlefield. He's saying they are going to be there tomorrow also. What is he meaning? Anyone? Can we guess?
Probably it is symbolic that today you are in this position, tomorrow someone else will be in the similar position, and I will be there to help again. So
But what is it that is there which is going to remain? Positions will change.
yeah,
Atman.
Okay, Manisha ji says the Atman. So Krishna is implying about the Atman. So what is this Atman? We don't know yet. But Krishna says there is something, the spirit is going to there remain of all these kings also. He goes on further. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatra na muhyati. Just as our soul, when in this body, silently resides, childhood, youth, and old age, it consensually abides. After leaving this body, Another one it requires. The wise grieve not, knowing that the soul never expires. So Krishna is saying, I was talking about the soul. You see what happens? The soul is a silent participant in the life. Life goes through stages. Your body goes through stages of childhood, youth, and old age. And soul participates in all these three stages. After leaving this body, another one it requires. And the wise understand. They grieve not, knowing that the soul does not expire. I think all of us have crossed childhood also, definitely, isn't it? Can we say our childhood has died? No, it's there inside of us. अभी तो दिल जवान है, or in the heart, it is all the matter of the heart. I have seen an 85-year-old child, and I have seen a 24-year-old geriatric person. Because that is the attitude of the person. It makes a difference. But you see, all our childhood we have grown. It's still a part of us. We have taken experiences. They are with us, just like that childhood, youth also, old age also. It is all a part of life. We say each wrinkle which comes in old age has a beautiful story. Stop trying to hide it. Sometimes people say, no, I do not want to show my age. I'll color my hair. But when they are coloring, they will know, isn't it? People may not be able to see that I am coloring this gray hair, I'm converting it into black or some other color, whichever, green, whichever color people want. But the person knows it, isn't it? It's a part of life. One need not run away from it. And Krishna says, just like that, death also is one more part. And the wise grieve not, knowing that the soul does not expire. It's a journey. The spirit lives on. We are reading a book, Bhagavad Gita, at this particular age. But we know how many people, just to uphold this book, how many people lost their lives? Holding on to our dharma. It was a big challenge. It was a big challenge to even preserve. But now what has happened? Their spirit and aspiration has survived and thrived only, isn't it? Now it is again revived, and the consciousness of this spirit of Sanatana Dharma is now spreading far, spreading wide, and it's going deep. So this spirit is that. Mangal Pandey, he was hanged, isn't it? But what did that lead to? A great revolution. Not just him, there were so many people. In France, Joan of Arc, a frail maid. A frail maid, she taught big knights to bend in front of her because they felt she is the one. Now she is the one who divine is functioning through. So it's not the physical which is everything. The spirit is there and the spirit is eternal, is what Krishna is saying. Body will change, the spirit will not. And there is some science Krishna is saying. Unfortunately, we don't know if Arjuna has signed up for this. He wanted a solution to run away from the battle. Now Krishna is giving Tattva Gyan, that too of Adhyatma. Every time what happens when Adhyatmic Gyan starts, people say, Arey Bhagwan, what is this? But here Bhagwan is only giving it. We do not know Arjuna's situation. Let us see, we'll hear from Krishna what Krishna is speaking. Arjuna is one very straight and sincere person because what he understands, he says, and what he does not, he'll immediately tell that. So we will know if Arjuna has followed or not followed as we go on. He goes on, Matra Sparshas Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukha Daha Agama Paino Nityans Tanstiti Shasva Bharata. Arjuna, your physical body and senses suffer and bear. Heat, cold, joy, and misery's effects they have to bear. Know them to be fleeting sensations of body and mind. They too shall pass, endure, and you shall thus find. So Krishna says, these are fleeting sensations of your body. Wear and tear happens, isn't it? Somebody works in the fields for so many days, he's able to work so hard. In our village, we see farmers, they work so hard, but after 60, I see people in 60s also working in the field, but their ability has now come down. They're not able to do too much because wear and tear has taken place because of use, and it's natural. Same way, it's even a machine, isn't it? Even your favorite vehicle, you have to maintain it. But even after maintenance, after using for a very long time, wear and tear is just natural. Krishna says the same thing. Heat, cold, joy, and misery's effect, they have to bear. So joy also gives an effect, misery also gives an effect, just as heat and cold also. Understand, know them to be fleeting sensations of body and mind. They too shall pass, endure, and you shall thus find. When we have a fever, what can we do? Chalo, I want to take out the fever. Let me do lots of push-ups. Does that work? No, we cannot do that. Doctor gives us a medicine, whichever pathy it may be. It may be an Ayurvedic one, it could be an allopathic one, it could be homeopathic, whatever. The medicine is given. Then is it our job? No, it is the body which has to do the job, isn't it? And what can we do? We have no option but to endure. Suppose we say, no, I have to participate consciously. अरे मेरा pulse बढ़ रहा है, so now I am going to think about it and increase it further. Or I'll have to now take one step back, endure. Sometimes people who have experienced some either some injury or they have some conditions which are long standing, which don't go away. What option do they have? It's just endure, and the moment passes, and then life goes on. This is one truth. We have, I think, Shivaji, who is the brother of Ushaji, a great inspiration for so many. Madam is a great teacher. She's an artist. She teaches students how to paint. Well, she suffered stroke, and after that, it was very difficult for her. Her, one she can't move one leg. Her one hand only is functional. But I did not know anything about her. I just because she's so bubbly, so much full of energy. And she would say, when her right leg is paining so much, she would say, Krishna, please sit on the other leg. She saw Krishna as a Bal Krishna, as a child. And now her book is coming out of her experiences. She's called it Child. So we are going to be having it soon. So that's something which will be very interesting. But we have no option but to endure. And this is one thing we should understand with a poise, with some what we call English word detachment is a little crude compared to the Sanskrit words for it, but let us at the moment call detachment. Let us get a little detached from these outer, fluctuations because these are fleeting moments. Keep calm, this too shall pass. Something like that, Krishna said. Then comes a beautiful aspect. He says, Yam hi na व्यथयन्ते ते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःख सुखं धीरं somritattvaya kalpati. One side he's talked about marana, and now he's talking about that amrit tattva, the soma. He says, who by these sensations are not imbalanced or affected, who in happiness and pain remain poised and unaffected. O Arjuna, only such men with the strongest foundation are deep enough to attain the liberation. So this liberation is possible for that person. It's so easy. Means Krishna has not talked about you do this particular sadhana, go onto this particular mountain at this particular muhurta, stand on this particular leg only. No. He's saying if you're able to keep a particular balance of happiness and pain. In happiness also and pain also, if you're remaining unaffected and remaining poised, only such men. And he says you require a deep, these men, they are deep enough, they have a strong foundation. Now, pain nobody likes, isn't it? Though we experience it, everybody experiences pain, but nobody likes it. That's true. So we can understand, I want to move away from pain. But what about happiness also? Krishna is saying in happiness also you remain unaffected. Why is that? Does he not want us to enjoy life? Anybody? Why happiness? Happiness is something which is nice, isn't it? Why should we remain poised? Even from happiness, we should not get that effect of that onto us. Yes, Rameshji. Yes, sir.
It is transient. Happiness is transient.
Happiness is transient. Means it is something like a child eats a chocolate very happily. And then, अरे, अब empty wrapper ही दिख रहा है. Chocolate कहाँ गया? It's gone. It's as simple as that. It's just transient. Then what is it that is not transient? Anyone? Then we should seek something that is not transient, which is supposedly then higher than happiness also. Because even happiness is something for us, it's huge. though it's transient. Yes, Renuji. Yes.
Bliss, inner happiness.
Bliss, Ananda. Yes, yes, yes. Ananda is something that is the highest, which is beyond happiness and pain. Happiness brings in our emotions again. On a birthday, a small child jumps up and down like having two springs under its legs, looking at the cake, excited. But in excitement, what happens? Slowly, excitement also, excessive happiness turns to excitement, excitement turns to overexcitement, and the hand while jumping hits the cake and the cake falls down, and then the smiley suddenly changes. It becomes an upside down. It was, I mean, the person is frowning and crying. Or we have seen athletes, Olympic athletes also, celebrating before crossing the finish line. My 4 years of efforts have come true, and they start showing, waving to the crowds and everything. And in one moment, that wasted effort makes them lose all they are capable of so many years. That is why the rishis also are, no, 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 we will remain. We want to taste that ananda, which is not a transient happiness. It is something greater. And Krishna is talking about experiencing that in everyday life. That is why the Gita is, it's not something which is a culmination of life. Krishna says, experience it. You'll be part of what they call a lila. That becomes a beautiful, different experience of life altogether. So Krishna says this, see, remain balanced at all times, Arjuna. That, he says, only such people, they are worthy of attaining the highest liberation. Nasate, nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubho, ubhayorapi drushtontas tvanyos tattvadarshibihi. Falsehood is that which holds no authority, and truth is omnipresent. In every territory, the essence of both have been shown by the wisest of seers to whom it was known. That is why it is said, Satyameva Jayate, because truth can be hidden but cannot be destroyed. Sometimes politicians do wrong actions and they try to silence and finish off the people who are on the side of truth. They may be able to do something to the individual, they may be able to delay what is inevitable, but what happens ultimately? Truth prevails. And when it prevails, then there is nothing. Even the skeptic has to fall onto the knee when the sun of the truth shines. It is just like that. Krishna goes on, he says, Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarva midam tatam vinasham avyayasya na kasyit kartum arhati. This truth of the indestructible self, you must see. From the same self, the visible world came to be. And there is no one on earth who is so capable of destroying that self, which is undestroyable. So he's speaking about that consciousness. It is that consciousness which said, Eko ham bahusyami, I am one, let me become many, and the manifestation took place. The entire Srishti has come through that intelligent design created by a consciousness. And he says, you must understand this is a truth. The self cannot be destroyed. And there's nobody so powerful on earth who can destroy the self because it is undestroyable. He goes on further. Antamanta ime deha nitya syokta sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmat yudhasva bharata. This physical body is untrue and perishes. This has been known without doubt over the ages. It's proven mortality. Why do you question? Brace yourself to fight, O Bharat's son. Death is a part of life, isn't it? And from when has it been a part of life? From the time life was there. It's not breaking news. People have been dying before. Are dying now. Tomorrow also that will be there. It's not breaking news for Arjuna. And why are you suddenly questioning the very fact of death as if it has never happened before? Arjuna, he says, ready yourself to your duty. Don't get carried away by that. Ya enam vetti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubhautau na vijanito, nayam hanti na hanyate. Those who think that they kill the self, or those who think that the self is dead. The self is referring to the Atman. are both in their ignorance only misled, as the self is neither the killer nor the killed. Says the self is that which will remain avinashi, that which will remain eternal. Jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Neither is the self created, neither is the self born, nor is it killed. Neither is it created, nor will it be destroyed. The self is primeval, ancient, and birthless, deathless, even when the physical body perishes. So Krishna says this tattva is there, this self which will never get destroyed. My question is this believable what Krishna is talking about? Something which doesn't get destroyed. He says you cannot create it. It's that one consciousness that is manifesting everywhere. That diversity of consciousness is taking place, differentiation. Yes, Chaitanya ji. Yes, ji.
This is sounding similar to what we were taught in school about energy. Can neither be created nor be
Perfectly said.
destroyed.
Absolutely. But it sounds more believable when we hear it is raw energy only without a consciousness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Energy can neither be created nor can be destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to another.
Yeah.
And that is happening everywhere. It's like, it is very nice. We cannot, Gurutwakarshan sounds different. But gravity, G, is good. G has this particular value. Why is it having that value? We don't need to ask. Because that is acceptable. So something like that. Yes, this is a concept of energy's transformation which takes place. This consciousness is there. This happens. If you even see, even in the even human physiology, we see an entire universe inside of us. Like the world is created with a bang. One big bang, light is there. Sperm ovum fusion also creates light that has been identified by these wonderful, electronic cameras also. In these microscopes, they have been able to identify. Then what happens? Immediately differentiation takes place afterwards. When the cells also, in the cell growth also, it is like that. Cell are embryonic. They decide, no, I want to become a part. I am choosing my career. I am going to become digestive system. Another person says, I am going to be a part of nervous system. I am going to be something else. And each of these cells start differentiating, and then they forget. They also get vismruti, like we forget our origin of consciousness. They forget we are embryonic. The choice is ours. We can choose. No, then they become a part of that system. Nowadays, scientists are trying to somehow revive that embryonic ability inside of a cell. We will have regeneration possible then. Somebody who has lost a limb may be able to regenerate, like in the certain species of animals, it's possible. Well, this is the thing. There is a flow, there is a flux, there is a flow of consciousness, and that is happening. And Krishna is saying consciousness cannot be destroyed. Human beings think they are so great. What happens when it has been shown in a nuclear site also, where people now run away from that place because of the radiation. Those sites have been taken over by plants. Buildings which are broken down. From there, that big jungle has started. The plants have taken over. So it's something that force of consciousness will always persist, is what Krishna is saying. He goes on further. He says, Veda vinashinam nityam ya ena majam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam khatayati antikam. The knowledge of the self that is ageless is that it is true, indestructible, and birthless. So again, who is the man who is the killer? And who is the man who is killed? Arjuna, what are you talking about? Forgetting your duty. You're speaking about all these factors which have already been there, which is always there. Suddenly, what is the logic? He goes on. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani granati naropurani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान् अन्यानि संयाति navani dehi. It's like, just like old garments are discarded when shoddy, and thus for newer clothes they make way, the old physical bodies too are cast away by the self, which then acquires a new body. The Sharira is changed by the self. It's like when we go to a mall, we purchase different clothes. At different times we wear them, isn't it? Like that, the Atman is wearing the Sharira like a cloth. Can we just get attached to one particular, I love this t-shirt or this particular dress so much that I'm never going to leave that dress. I'm going to wear it every single day of my life. Is it possible? Can we do that? No, isn't it? When I was young, I had a favorite t-shirt with lots of insects on it, which my mother did not like. And I had the habit of wearing it every time, wherever I went. She thought it will, wear and tear, and later on I will leave it. But for some reason, it really was very good quality. So it went on for a long time. Finally, she got irritated. She cut it. So I don't have to wear it again. Because I was always getting too attached to it. And that's her way of working. I would not want to use it as a SOP for anyone. But this is the truth. We cannot get so attached to the Sharira. Sharira is going to change, but the Atman is there.
Shashruji,
Yes, ji.
sorry, you have talked about consciousness and Atman or self, right? So
Yeah.
what is the difference? I mean, we have been talking about it in different ways, but I just want to understand what is the difference when we talk about consciousness and when we talk about Atman.
So this Atman is a portion of one supreme consciousness. People sometimes make a bhed saying this consciousness, which is a part of life, which is a part which we call Jivatman also. It is different from the other consciousness, from supreme consciousness, is what people say. That is a Dvaitavad.
Okay.
The Advaitic ones will say, no, this is the same. This is the same consciousness which is there, is also inside of us. And that is the same consciousness which is distributing everywhere, which is spread in the animals, in the animate objects, in inanimate objects also. Look at non-living, you say metal, or you look at a rock. We call it unconscious. But if you go on the molecular level, you see there is a continuous whirring of these different subatomic particles. They're all moving, and there's energy. There's energy there. Maybe it's a different type of. It is not yet dynamic, but it is there. It is what we can say hidden, but it
Okay.
is there.
So Gita is
So
saying Atman is part of same consciousness, that one
yeah,
consciousness.
yes,
Okay.
yes. We can interpret it that way, because otherwise Dvaita will say, no, Gita is saying it is different. No, it is up to us. It is up to us to consider what we relate to best. But it is speaking about the consciousness which is there in the individual, which is connected with the supreme consciousness.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you. So the shloka comes further. Now, Krishna is not only talking about this consciousness, but he's describing it also. What will be interesting is to see Arjuna. Like, "Hey, what did I ask him? What am I receiving? I wanted to run out of the battle. He is now talking about this." He goes on, he says, Nainam chinnati shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Na chainam kledayantyapo, Na shoshayati marutaha. That which no weapon can decapitate, that which no inferno can incinerate, that which even the waters can wet not, that which the mighty winds can dry not. Such is the beautiful strength of this consciousness. No weapon will be able to cut that, no fire can burn it, no water can wet it, no wind can dry it. That is this. So whatever X, whatever self, Jivatman, whatever name we want to call it, some people say, I don't like all these names, I just call it energy. Well, whatever it is, call it what you wish. But these are the attributes that Krishna is giving, and this is exactly what you will find in the Upanishads also. They call it the Brahman. Ekameva dvitiyam brahma sadasadarupam sadasadatitam nanyat kinchidasti trikalatitam. This is Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad. He talks about this. He begins with the consciousness and then ends with Ananda in that Upanishad. Because the Ananda has to be experienced, the Ananda has to be spread. But first, recognize the consciousness. Without recognizing it, you cannot experience. You have to recognize it, so you'll have to rise above what is the attachment and bodily consciousness, sense-based consciousness, but not discard it, but rise above it. So let us see now. Arjuna is still in a different state. Achedyoyam, adahyoyam, akledyo shoshya evacha, nityah sarvagatam sthanur, Achaloyam sana. Hari Om. Am I audible? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Probably Krishna is reminding time limit. So, so 5 minutes remaining. So let us see. So this we were you 23rd shloka, was it audible? What was the last third? I do not know whether the recitation of the shloka 24, which is achedyo yam adahyo yam akledyo shoshe was this audible or?
No, it was not audible.
So fine. So we'll start with the 24th one only. So Krishna is giving the attributes of this self for the Atman. He says, Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shosha cha nityaha sarvagataha sthanur achaloyam sanatanaha. This self, indestructible and incombustible, is immutable, imperishable, and insoluble. In its inertial stillness, it is omnipresent, ageless, and timeless. It is everywhere, it is present. So then he goes on. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. Sanatan, who is going to destroy Sanatan? Who has so much strength to destroy that which is Shashwat, that which is Sanatan? Nobody on earth is what Krishna is saying. And you stop becoming so emotional. And every time it's like the parents tell the children, big children, don't cry over small things. Get up, don't do that. It's exactly like this where he says, Na shochitum arhasi. This is not right. This is not right for you to lament and get carried away in your grief. This invincible self by the mind cannot be conceived. About the blemishless self, thus is said and perceived. This knowledge of the self you must realize and see. Indeed, how pointless it is for you to lament or grieve. So Krishna says, see, recognize this. Recognize this. This self is there. Your mind will not be, your mind is limited by its logic. Your mind is limited. It's a processor which is receiving inputs from where? From the indriyas or the senses. Senses are not super, isn't it? We have limitation of senses. Our mind can process only what is got inside. So it's already getting a small, its data only is already compromised. It's not entire data. So we cannot assume mind is everything. He says, by the mind it cannot be conceived. Thus it is said and perceived. So, but it can be perceived, meaning mind is an instrument for reception. But mind in itself is not everything. Sometimes, because mind is so great, people get carried away and say, mind is beautiful, mind is supreme. Everything is there in the mind only. No, mind can play a role. It can even function like a radio frequency, receiver. It can connect with a higher frequency, but it in itself is not complete. That is one important hint that Krishna gives in this shloka. He says, this knowledge of the self you must realize and see indeed how pointless it is to lament or grieve. Many times when we lose something, we cry. Poonamji wants to share something? Ji? Is it? No. All right. So now Krishna says it's pointless. Do not My guru Ramleji had told me when somebody cries, they generally cry for themselves only. It is for oneself that you cry. I lost this, I lost that. I is only important. Now, when my guru told me, I did understand, but my case was little bit like, and there's a mishran, isn't it? Little emotions, little mind comes in between, little calculation. I'm like, yeah, okay, but just around that time, I received information from a friend, a sad news that his mother had departed and he was disturbed. And so quickly I went to meet him that very night only. And all these kriyas were going on, all the relatives had come. I stood by him and I said, no, this fellow is not crying only for himself. He's crying for the loss of his mother. This must be a selfless tears only because it is not selfish, is what I felt. Because his mother is lost and I have Shraddha for my mother. That way, this boy must be having Shraddha for his. So these tears are not selfless, or there must be something in these tears, and that's what I thought. So I was contradicting with what I had only heard from my guru. In my mind, I was calculating that. But as I watched it, she left too early. She did not talk so much to me. So many things he kept saying. I was all right, all right. I was listening and I was understanding. But after all the guests left, he came to me and somehow he felt I might be able to answer his question or something. He came and he asked me his question. Will she haunt me? I was like shocked. I mean, here you are saying she's your mother, she's like a god for you and everything. And now you are afraid you are going to be haunted. I said, what kind of question is that? And that's where I realized, see, this is an incomplete thought inside of him. A mind is not fully understood. But again, it is a self. And then when I went and told my guru, I told Sir, Ji, you had told me this, no? I did not fully understand it. Now I understood that when we cry, we generally cry for ourselves only. It is out of our attachments. We only become important. And there is something called nirpeksh ashru or selfless tears. That comes out and that is an evacuation that happens differently. There's no swartha in it. But most of the time it is this. Arjuna is claiming to cry for everybody. But Arjuna is crying for whom? Anybody? Is he crying for the Pandavas? Is he crying for the Kauravas? Yes,
Himself.
himself, isn't it? Absolutely, Dr. Tanviji. So here Arjuna is thinking of himself and his tears are only for himself, nothing more than that. And Krishna says, Na shochitum arhasi. This is not right. And very politely he says, we'll stop with the next shloka. Because for some reason it doesn't look like Arjuna is fully relating with all Krishna says. So suddenly Krishna changes gears. He always does that throughout the Gita, you'll see. Suddenly he'll go to metaphysical, then again come back to logical, then he'll go to practical, then again he'll bring all three together also. So let us see what we stop at shloka number 26. Now what did he introduce? He introduced the concept of the Atman. He said, this is beautiful. Nainam chinnati shastrani. Nainam dahati pavaka. Cannot be destroyed, cannot be cut, which is eternal, which does not die. And now suddenly he says, Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mrutam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. Oh Mahabaho, that is the name of Arjuna, one more title. The one with the huge, broad shoulders, powerful one, which have now become drooped because of emotions. But he's reminding him, you are the one. Such person with such strength, physical strength and mental strength also. You shouldn't cry. He says, okay, acha ba, there is no self. Assume that way, he says. If you think the self is subject to birth, or if you think that it is subject to death, either ways, mighty armed warrior, it is not right to grieve in this manner. Okay, assume that self is finished. It is like a flame burning and then exhausted, over. But even if that is the case, there is no right need for you to grieve in this way, is what he says. He says logically, isn't it? Will that make a difference in the battlefield? He's crying right now. Just by crude practical logic also. So we stop here. The outline is no, your emotions, don't let them overwhelm you, whether you are believing in the self or whether you're not believing, whether you're believing in the divine. At least believe in yourself, no, if you don't believe in the divine. Chalo, theek hai. I don't have Shraddha in my Aradhya. I don't have an Aradhya to have Shraddha in. I don't have a Guru to have a Shraddha in. All right, at least have Shraddha in yourself. No, at least that much. Though sometimes we will find our own limitations very easily, but at least have some Shraddha to move ahead. That is what Krishna is saying. He says, no, these emotions are not to be taken. completely, they shouldn't take you for a ride, is what the message Krishna has given. So, with this, we will conclude. Can someone just summarize what we saw? Today, the concept of the Atman was introduced. This is a little longer adhyay. Probably we will need 3 sessions maybe to complete. There are 72 shlokas, almost equal to 3 adhyayas. And then the secret of Karma Yoga is also going to be introduced here only after the Atman's concept is being established. And that is actually the base of the Bhagavad Gita as well. It starts, and one thing in the Gita is we will see recurrence of several concepts. What we see in second adhyay will also appear in the 18th adhyay. Only some will say, what is this? It is the same thing. No, it is not the same thing. It is actually embellished in so many ways. There's one shloka which is 75% of this is the same in one adhyay. In another adhyay, it comes only the fourth part of the shloka. Means 3 parts are same. Fourth part only is different. But that small difference makes an entire perspective change also. So we'll see. Right now, we do not know whether Arjuna is buying what Krishna is saying. He is listening. Sometimes it is said silence is half consent. But the other half, we don't know if it is agreeing or disagreeing. So let us see. Can someone recollect what we have seen last? So we will then conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Yes, please. Anybody? After, can we just summarize something that we saw today?
Hari Om.
Yes, ji.
I'll
No,
try.
yes, ji.
So finally, in complete hopelessness, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna and asks for his guidance. And with a beautiful smile, Krishna gives introduces some very important concepts in today's session. So first concept which he introduces is the impermanence of the soul, so of the self or the soul, and tells that the soul is eternal, it is non-destructible. It was it was always there, it is there, and it will always remain. So it is impermanent. So this is the first concept with which Krishna tells Arjuna. Second, after that, he also says that this is the truth that self is indestructible, but this is also the truth that the physical body and the mind, these are temporary. So physical body, then and death is certain. So it is just temporary. All those who are there were also there and will also be there in future. And don't be attached to the physical body and the sensations of the mind. So all these are fleeting. The joy, sorrow, heat, cold, all these sensations are fleeting, and you just endure them, and eventually you'll realize that everything will pass. So this too shall pass. This is what he introduced. And finally, he also told one way to attain liberation in this, that is the steadfastness, being balanced and poised in both happiness and sorrow. So
See.
this is one thing we learned.
Yeah, so Somrtatvaya Kalpati, they are worthy of attaining the highest state of, means what is that? Which they talk about, means in different paths, different we can say margas, they talk about this realization only. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivadam urvarukam bandhana mrityor mukshya mamrita. That realization of highest consciousness, which is called the immortal consciousness, which is considered Soma, the Soma. That is possible, and for that, the dhira is required. The balance is required, even in happy moments. It's like, chalo, theek hai, you like this, but I don't think we overeat what we like also, isn't it? And even what we like, if we eat it with dhira, we can actually enjoy the taste of the dish also. Very enjoyed properly. Otherwise, in a hurry, you gulp it. Then you are left with, okay, what did I eat? I just forgot what I ate only. So something like that. The balance at all moments, good and bad, if we can take that. There's a beautiful quote attributed to late Sushma Swaraj. She had taught a beautiful way of dealing with life. She had said that when things happen according to my wish, I receive it as Krishna Prasad. And when things happen against my wish, I receive it as Krishna Ichha. How simple is that? One simple mantra. That mantra, if we can practice. Gita is full of so many mantras. The problem is not the number of mantras. The problem is being able to practice one mantra also perfectly. And that one mantra will take us ahead. So we should all try to at least find one mantra from the entire 700 shlokas which we can implement. And that is sufficient because everything else is Krishna's headache. He does it. That's his responsibility also. He has taken that responsibility. So let us see. All right. So Dr. Tanviji has beautifully summarized. Ma'am, that was perfect. So that is what, and the last part about na shojito marhasi. Wise men, wise women, wise people, they don't grieve, is what Krishna is saying. They understand it. Somewhere the self is kept behind. If possible, I'll try to share. I will find the link and share. Damliji, my guru had actually shared his life experience after his guru had passed away and he had cried and he got an experience of what is nirpeksha shru, what is selfless tears, what is the meaning of this selfless tear. So I'll just share that. It's a story that we had read out. I'll try to find it. And I made a mistake today. By mistake, I streamed on the wrong platform. So I'll have to download it in another 1 hour's time and it will go live on YouTube very shortly. I'll try to do that quickly. As a habit, I think a stream clicked on the wrong button. Just a moment ago, I realized it's on the screen. Maybe next time you can also let me know. All right then. So I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra. After which, if anybody has any queries, you are welcome. All right. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishna Vande Jagat Gurum. Hari Om. Namaskar. Yes.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. If there are no queries, I'll conclude session today.
Sushruti, I have one
Yes, sir.
question. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
we talked about Atman being indestructible and body being destructible, right? Yeah, but where does mind lie between these two? I mean, how do we consider mind in this?
Mind is an instrument along with the Indriyas, which is utilized by the Jivatman. Our
Okay.
senses, isn't it? Our Pancha Indriyas are there. And
So
the
we say
minds.
body is after body is destroyed, the mind is also destroyed. Do we say that?
There are actually layers.
Okay.
It is said means physically senses. This is one thing on the physical, but there's
Okay.
a sukshma also. Sukshma is also there. Means
Okay.
if you see Taittiriya Upanishad, it talks about koshas. And there's a manomaya kosha. There's a annamaya kosha. There's a vijnanamaya kosha. Then there is the anandamaya kosha. It's like onions. You peel out layer after layer, layer, and then suddenly we feel nothing is inside, but there is something that is the consciousness. So what we can say is mana, buddhi, ahankar, indriyas. They are a part of, we can say, a part of our life experience. We have to utilize all of them. They together. You take out the mind, it ceases to be an individual, isn't it? It becomes like a robot for functioning according to an algorithm. So mind is there. Mind and indriyas work together, give us some understanding. We get some understanding. We learn certain things. That becomes a part of what is buddhi. All three are like they work in tandem. They work in tandem to give us an experience of life.
So we say that Atman has formed these layers for proper functioning of the
Yes,
body.
yes.
And
As per a design that has been laid for a particular purpose. Ji,
Okay.
ji.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ji. Hari Om. Hari Om. We'll conclude the session. Yes. Hari Om, Manisha ji, you want to say something?
No, sir. Thank you.
No, ji. Hari Om ji. All right. Hari Krishna. Hari Om. Jai Shri Krishna.